Hello, and welcome to Market Unfiltered. I am Phil, and it is the 20th of May, 2024. And we're starting off a brand new week. It is Monday, and unfortunately, every day I finished up last week. But today, and it's not by much, but the frown, well, the smile is upside down and is a frown. Let me get rid of this. The final result wasn't that bad, considering. Down $46. The market, the NASDAQ finished up 0.65%. That's 2/3%. The S&P 500 finished up 0.09%, which is very little, obviously. TLT, for the strength of the dollar, or treasuries, and USO, which is oil, were both down slightly. The TLT being down means that, just slightly, means that there was no real enthusiasm for thinking that the market is, or the Federal Reserve is going to cut interest rates. There's no momentum building like there was last week. But that's just one day anyway. The NASDAQ outperformed all day long. And before I go over my individual things, I was down $46, and my IRA, where I have, small positions, was also down $25. John Deere, if you remember last week, I actually made my first recommendation. I'm going to call that a recommendation. And I said that John Deere could go down pretty hard if they did not have a good report. And because they were projecting already decreasing income as the year went on. And the next day, John Deere did lose $20 or so off its $400 something price. And I said, well, just wait now. They're going to come out of the woodwork now and cut John Deere by $20. And here's two great examples of this. This was today. Truist, Truist, cut the John Deere price $34 a share, but it keeps the buy rating. So John Deere goes down, and they have the appraisal just go down. It's still above where John Deere is right now. So they're saying, oh, buy it. We're just lowering our price. Now, I saw them do that on Roku, all the way from $450 down to $100. It took them maybe 8 different earnings reports, but that's what they did. And D.A. Davidson, which always chimes in on these things, cut the price by $18 on Deere, the amount that it went down, and they keep their buy rating. NVIDIA, NVDA, is going to report on Wednesday. And a company called Dycom is going to report on Wednesday. Dycom is DY. And what's interesting is that Wells Fargo and a couple of others raised their target price on it before the earnings, which are on Wednesday. That's kind of unusual. I'm going to buy tomorrow maybe 10 shares of it, or $1,500 in total. It's about $152 a share right now. Just to remind myself to see what it does do, but it's interesting to see them raising the expectation of the price on the stock. Both of them, Wells Fargo raised it to $175, almost $25 over the price now. And there was another one or two also. And I think their estimates were in the 180s. So we'll see what happens with this Dycom, which I wouldn't know if I walked into the building. I wouldn't know Dycom. Okay. But just as an interesting, as far as following the recommendations. And Palo Alto Networks reported, I like that company. It just seems like I always want to buy it when they're going to announce earnings, and they always go up, but I didn't buy it. And today, because I lost the $46, I wasn't even going to think of anything like that. I didn't feel like it. And they went from $3.25 price after they announced earnings in the afternoon. Within minutes, they were down to $2.95. Okay, so basically that's a $30 drop. And that's actually almost 10%. It's 9% of the stock. Almost 10%. If you had $2,500 in it, you are down $250. If you had $50,000 in it, you are down $5,000. I've had things like that. That's why I'm doing this. By the way, this is the channel where you can live vicariously through me. When things go up, we can all cheer together. When things go down, I'm the only one really hurting. That's why this channel exists. It also exists to keep me under control, keep me more reasonable in what I'm doing, rather than shooting for the stars. There were times today where I just put my hands together and I said, okay, don't touch any buttons. Don't touch anything. Just chill. Take a nap. Look like you're dead, which is very easy for me. I get to play possum all the time now. And boy, do I look dead. Anyway, so I did do that today a few times. I should have done it more, but the first trade that I made, remember, don't trade until 10:30. And by that time, the market was up. The NASDAQ was up about the amount that it finished the day at. The S&P 500 was up a little more than it finished the day at. And it was fun to watch it go up in the first day. I wasn't like, oh, I'm missing something, I have to jump in. Now, had I? Yeah, I would have had a better day. But I've seen too many 10:50 in the morning turnarounds and 11:10 in the morning turnarounds. Didn't want to do that to myself. So my first trade, I bought the NASDAQ. I held it for 10 minutes, 10:40 to 10:50. It was never up when I had it, and I finished down $25. And just a few minutes earlier, if I'd cashed out, I would have been down $50. So I figured, okay. Now, of course, as the day went on, if I had held it all day, it probably would have been a good thing, but it's okay. I tried NVDA, and which sometimes I have some luck with. It turned out to be my undoing today. I was just shuffling back and forth, really, until 12:46 to 12:53, 7 minutes. I got 100 of the NASDAQ ETF. It went from 555.08 to 455.08 to 455.35. So I made $27. At that time, I was up $36. And then I looked at Tesla. Tesla always trips me. But I was like, I think Tesla is going to come through for me today because it always trips me. And first couple of trades, I shorted them. And the NASDAQ was even going down. And Tesla actually didn't. And then the third trade, I lost basically $30 on it. It went from 175.15 to 174.84 when I was owning it. That's a loss of $30 or so. But then at 228 to 253, 50 long, oh no, wasn't, it was 26 long minutes, 25 long minutes. I bought 50 shares of NVDA. I'm sorry, I didn't. I shorted it. I shorted it at 948.37, which, by the way, it finished below at the end of the day. But it shot up to 952. That was over 3.5 points. So I was down $175 at that time. It came back down a little bit to 950, 59. And I figured just take it. Take the loss. It was $110 loss on that trade. $2.41. No, $2.22 times 50. $110. And then I actually broke my rules and I scrambled around and I wound up getting back $50 towards the end, which I shouldn't have done. I shouldn't be in it. As a matter of fact, that last trade where I wound up making $6 whole, at one time I was down 50, and that was in the SPY. And at the very end of the day, the last 2 minutes, it just came up and I sold it in the after hours and didn't lose $50. But Palo Alto Networks have taken both the NASDAQ and the SPY, S&P 500 down a little bit in the after hours. The last thing I want to mention, we do have time for this, is the AMC and GME trades that were made a couple of weeks ago or a week ago. GME, some guy who was really behind the whole GME buying craze in 2020 during COVID, he hadn't posted in 3 years. He posted a picture, just a picture of a guy at a desk, basically. And they were so excited that he did this, that the stock went from whatever it was, 20, 25, or 30, and it went up to $68, I think, that morning. And then went down and down and down. And now it's $21, I believe. $21. Okay? If you bought it at 68, you have lost more than half. Let's see, 60, more than 60%, 70% maybe of your money because some guy posted a picture. And I have a feeling that maybe he needed some money and he had these shares from whenever. And he said, these things will never move again. So let me post a picture. And as soon as it went up 100 to 125%, he probably sold a whole bunch of shares. And it's bad enough when Wall Street does it to us. But some YOLO, behind the scenes, I'm going to break the market. Remember, I'm going to break Melvin Capital, I believe it was called. They had shorted GameStop and they were in deep trouble because everybody was buying it and they had shorted it. And everybody thought, this is great. I hate those people at Melvin Capital. And it wound up probably that this guy is just as manipulative as Melvin Capital is. And it's, hey, I lost money today. Okay? I'm not brilliant. I did some dumb things. I even got suckered into one thing, as it turns out. I mean, the market was moving in one direction. The thing I was suckered into was moving in the other direction. That happened a couple of times today. But to have an individual doing that for himself is somehow even worse. I mean, the volume was very low today. Even, I don't think artificial intelligence was there today. So anyway, that is the end of today's report. This is Market Unfiltered. All my non-existent viewers, have a good night. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have better news because I don't want to report another loss, even if it is small. Good night.